Bahlonishwa abaphathi bohlelo, bangazitha Mhlonishwa Singh, abantwana basendunkulu abakhona, amakhosi endunkulu akhona, abahlonishwa imeya zethu eyikhona, amahlonishwa amalungu ePhalamende eKapa, amalungu ePhalamende eshamthethweni sase-Gauteng nesaKwaZulu Natal, abaholi bethu bonke abakhona, amakhansela ethu, nabangani bethu abakhona. My comrades, I would like to start by saying that when a political leader rises to speak, they first observe protocol, listening dignitaries present. Today, however, as I look across the stadium, I know that the most important people are those who have come here to hear about the IFP. As our leader, the chairperson of the Women's Brigade and the chairperson of the Youth Brigade have stated, you, comrades, individually, are here. And we are the reason why we are here. We are the people we serve. That's why I thank all the dignitaries I've mentioned for their presence today. My biggest thanks go to you, the individuals who made this decision to come here and listen to the IFP. We have made a good decision. I intend to give you plenty to think about and plenty of reasons which should make you support or put your mark on the IFP slot on the 3rd of August. Many of you comrades are here today as long-standing IFP members and supporters. We have carried membership cards for years, some since the Inkatha was formed in 1975. I honor you for your commitment, knowing that we have walked a remarkable journey together that has influenced our country. Thanks to each one of you, comrades, for your attendance. Thanks so much to you all. Thanks and thanks and thanks and thanks for your presence here today. I honor you, I'm proud of you. Others in the stadium are members who have returned to the IFP fold, having tested waters in other parties and found that there is indeed no place like home. We welcome you home, comrades. Thank you for coming back to the IFP. There is always a place for you in the IFP family. We value your presence. To those who have newly partnered with the IFP, we say, welcome. Thank you for placing your trust in a party that has worked to earn your respect. As we move forward together, we intend to keep that trust. We invite you to make your contribution in this partnership, in the IFP, because every voice matters. As I stand before you, comrades, in the midst of you as comrades and patriots and friends, I feel a surge of hope for South Africa. I know what can be achieved when like-minded people like yourselves come together in this way, in the best interest of the nation, in the best interest of their families, and in the best interest of their communities. I've had the privilege of leading this party for 41 years, and I've seen victories won, and time again people who are working against odds. I've seen communities oppressed by poverty rising from nowhere to become self-sufficient. I've seen youth with no hope for the future, creating a future through education and knowledge. I've seen families headed by children, and children raised by grandmothers, and I've seen them healthy, well-fed, and filled with hope. I've seen thriving businesses raised from the smaller seed capital. I've seen houses built through partnerships between people and government, and clinics built where people had no access before to health care. I've opened thousands of schools in my life, thousands of classrooms, calling on children to learn and learn. I've seen women shattered by abuse, living whole again. Comrades, these things are possible, but they don't happen just by chance. And they don't happen automatically in a democratic system. It saddens me to know that the many South Africans have lost faith in democracy. Not because democracy itself is a flawed system, but because of the way it has been implemented in our country. It is good and well for our Constitution to extend human rights to all our people and to give them a voice in governance. But when there are still people waiting for decent housing 22 years into democracy, and when votes are still bought with food parcels, it is no wonder that people think that democracy doesn't work. It is tragic that even the Department of Human Settlements does what it can, as it's doing, to provide housing, that many of the houses are not habitable. We're suddenly, undoubtedly, working at great odds in our country. At the foundational level of democratic governance, which is your local municipality, problems exist that should not be there. Municipal governance is not functioning as it should. There are things that need to change to fulfill the promises of democracy and get local government working for you. The good news is this: there is a way to initiate that change. We're not helpless victims of a corrupt and failing system. No, no, no. We're the most powerful players in the system. We're the voters. We're the electorate. We're the ones who get to say who can stay and who must go. More importantly, we're the ones who can change the entire leadership in governance. The moment to do that is on the 3rd of August 2016, when we vote in the local government elections. On that day, comrades, August 3rd, the power will be placed where it rightly belongs, in your hands. With your vote, you can actually convey your message about the situation that amounts to a crisis in our country. Through your vote, you can change everything. You can ensure that roads are built in your community, that your local school gets the maintenance it so badly needs, and that the water is accessible throughout the year. Your vote can remove people who don't deserve to be councillors, people who haven't respected the mandate you give them and haven't represented your voice adequately. In their place, you can appoint people you can trust. But that brings us to the question that many South Africans are asking: who can I trust? In this volatile political climate, in which protests rise on the staff of Parliament and in the very chamber of the National Assembly, in the streets and in the campuses, there is one resounding question, and that question is a question of trust. At the highest level of leadership, trust has been broken. For the first time since apartheid and unbreachable chasm has opened between citizens and leaders of this country in government. Let me speak frankly, comrades. At all levels of government, we see maladministration and corruption, and even our president has not been without any blemish. This has led to an outcry throughout the country. One cannot help remembering the saying that when a fish rots, the rot starts at the head. Under the leadership of this president, corruption has become synonymous with government. Scandal after scandal blazes across our newspapers. Where once we stood with pride, we now feel shame. Comrades, if I may depart from my speech, today's headline in the Sunday Tribune, our Sunday paper in this province, the headline says, "Fired mayor, now MEC." Recycling of corrupt people. Corrupt people are not punished in our country. In fact, they are recycled and put in important positions. Here they are talking about one of the MECs that have been appointed recently, Ms. Bongi Sithole Moloi, who actually, according to the report, her own party, the ANC, kicked her out in a vote of no confidence. And central to her sacking were allegations that she had channeled 1.5 million of taxpayers' money into the account of Lucky Moloi, a man that she later married. Corruption stinks to high heavens in our country. And that is not the way it should be. But the poison has seeped down into all levels among opening the door rather to corruption and self-serving, greedy officials. Cronyism, nepotism, career deployment, entrepreneurs, job breakers. These are words that should never have entered our daily vocabulary, but we all know them now because they happen in our country every day. It's what familiar. We're familiar with under the present government. No wonder people are asking, who can I trust? I know that there are some in the stadium who have come with that very question in their hearts. You have come to listen to what the IFP has to offer in the hope of hearing something you can believe in. After years of empty promises and broken promises, we are looking for something you can trust. And I want to encourage you, comrades, because there is still a party you can trust in South Africa. You can trust the IFP. You can trust us, in other words. And I'm proud of the fact that whenever I speak to people about the IFP's character and what we can do, that my words are backed by 41 years of honest leadership. The IFP has served with integrity for 4 decades. We're at the forefront of the battle against apartheid, working hand in hand within South Africa to win democracy. We were at the negotiating table, spearheading the fight for provinces and empowered municipalities. We were in the government of national unity for 10 years, changing the exclusionary policies and legislation of the past to create a country in which every person is respected. We're at the helm in KwaZulu-Natal, fast-tracking development and laying foundations for clean governance. However, the political landscape has now changed, and more change is certain. But the IFP is still there, comrades. Everyone can see that we're still there to do. If they look around the stadium, they can see, in spite of all the obituaries that are written every year, that were very much around, they must see that ring in their ears the words of our great leader, Nelson Mandela, when he said about me, we have used all sorts of ammunition to destroy him, but we failed. He's still there. We cannot ignore him. He's a formidable survivor. We are still working for you, to serve you, and still standing for the best interests of our country, South Africa. We're in Parliament, we're in the legislatures, we're in the district and local municipalities, we're in your community, listening to your needs. We have never once made a promise and failed to deliver. We have been honest with you, and over 4 decades, we have built a partnership that you can trust. That's why we are here. That is the legacy of the IFP. I am proud of it. But more than that, I'm grateful because I know that behind the legacy is the hard work and selfless commitment of thousands of men and women, you comrades, who have linked themselves to the IFP family. We are always very careful who we place in positions of trust. For these people carry the IFP's good name. They become the face of the IFP. Thus, we choose candidates to stand for elections. We make sure that they are the right people for the job, not only because they are leaders in their communities, but because they have demonstrated good character. Today, I'm proud to introduce to you, comrades, the IFP's candidates for the 2016 local government elections. These are men and women who will serve your needs and carry your voice into your municipality. They are the ones you will call on when you have any concern. They will answer your questions and seek to meet your needs. They will ensure that governance in your community is done with integrity, with transparency, as the leader of the Youth Brigade stated, and real participation. Our candidates for 2016 understand that you are the reason the IFP exists. They are here to serve you. The IFP understand that this is a great responsibility. When you give a mandate to IFP candidates, a binding contract is formed there and then. We as a party become fully responsible for holding your elected leaders to account. We make sure that they do their job because they are doing it under the IFP's name. Thus, every single candidate we put forward for election is asked to sign a pledge committing themselves to be accountable, to be honest, to be accessible, to be trustworthy, to be diligent, and to be active. I am pleased to announce that all our candidates have willingly accepted to sign this pledge. Today, in your presence, comrades, they will sign this commitment in front of you. As they do so, I encourage you to take note of each and every candidate. These are the people you will vote for on the 3rd of August. There will be a link, in other words, between you and the democratic government that works. Getting government working is not about reshuffling cabinets. It's about changing leadership at the foundational level. Good governance begins in municipalities. This is where your voice is heard and your service delivery needs are met. Thus, it is essential, comrades, that the right party be placed in leadership at the municipal level. Every party brings its own ethos and its own politics. It is no coincidence that municipalities administered by the ANC are failing to meet your needs. It's not just about corruption, mismanagement, and wasteful expenditure. We are familiar with violent protests which occur in ANC-run municipalities all over the country, and all being wanted by ANC members who feel that the ANC has failed to deliver services. They go to the extent of burning down municipal offices and councillors' houses and even killing people. They do not end there. They burn down schools, libraries. Where the money exists is just not spent. Money that is budgeted for, which is given to our province and some municipalities, is just not spent. Over the last 5 years, since 2011, government elections, municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal have failed to spend infrastructure grants to the tune of 210 million, which they have not spent. In his report, Mr. K.M. Makwetu, the Auditor General, stated that KwaZulu-Natal once again performed poorly at 22.4%, followed by the Free State at 18.2%, Northwest at 11.6%, and Mpumalanga at 8.3%. Gauteng was at the bottom of the list with 12.1% provision of solid waste management. Now, the 210 million was earmarked to build houses, to build schools, to build clinics, to build roads and community centers. Can you imagine? And they failed to use it. It had to go back to the fiscus because they failed to use it. That's how they failed in the governance game. We can talk about a lack of planning and a lack of vision, but in the end it comes down to a lack of integrity. If you really want to help people and meet their needs, you don't ignore them. You don't leave money unspent while people go hungry. That's just not bad governance. It is immoral. No wonder service protests are igniting in almost every municipality administered by the ANC. Things are no better in those municipalities that were forced into an ANC NFP administration. It was a purely political move, decided at the top, and the people paid the price. Most of these municipalities have been unstable for 5 years, with politics trumping service delivery time and time again. But there are a few that have been rescued through the ballot box, as our leader, the Honorable Ms. Nkulego Mhlengwa, because through the by-elections since 2011, the electorate has returned 5 municipalities to the IFP. And in all the municipalities were administered, including Kandla, by the way, the hometown of the ANC president and the president of the country. The IFP enjoys a partnership with the people. We don't see service delivery protests because the line of communication is always open. People know they can come to their IFP councillor and something will be done. But we also have heard our rotten potatoes, I must say, amongst our councillors. We have tried to weed them out. That is the way it should be. In a partnership of trust, everyone should know what is expected and what will be delivered. That is particularly important as we approach an election. For this reason, the IFP's manifesto for 2016 contains solid reasons to trust us. You will find in this manifesto a basic statement of who we are and why we've been your trusted partner in good governance for 41 years. But this is an overarching manifesto I'm talking about, because in every community, the IFP will provide a local manifesto that deals with the specific issues that affect you. In that manifesto, we'll tell you more about the candidates standing in your wards, and they'll make their personal commitment to you. I therefore encourage you, comrades, to read the manifesto together with the one we're launching today, so that you will have the full picture of why a vote for the IFP is a vote for positive change. Let me therefore give you some reason, give you some of the good reasons why you should vote for the IFP. Clearly, a voice of reason is needed in our country to secure democracy. That voice is the IFP. You can trust us to drive good governance in every municipality. You can trust us to make job creation the #1 priority of all the IFP municipalities. You can trust us to loosen the grip of corruption and restore integrity and accountability in leadership. You can trust us to speed up the provision of decent housing without red tape, illegal tenders, and false promises. Everyone needs a home, not just a few. You can trust us to respect the rule of law and create security in your community, and that everyone can be and feel safe. Our women and children should feel safe in our streets. You can trust us to select candidates who will work for you. All IFP candidates will sign a contract of good governance, which the party will ensure is adhered to. You can trust us to deliver services to all in the spirit of Ubuntu Butu, not just for the few at the expense of the many. You can trust us to declare drought relief as an emergency and to prioritize clean water, drinking water for all. You can trust us to help to get food on the table and health care for your family. You can trust us to speed up the construction of roads and bridges to provide safe transport and to change the current policy with high visibility policing instead of entrapment. You can trust us to partner with schools to create a better learning environment for our children. The question that comes up naturally is, why should you trust you? Why should you trust us? Our track record, my reply, is our track record when we governed KwaZulu and governed the province of KwaZulu-Natal during the first 10 years of our freedom, under Dr. Frank Mdlalose, under Dr. Ben Gubane, under Dr. Mchali. That record speaks for itself. There was not even a whiff of corruption. The IFP has one vision, comrades, and it's got one purpose, and that is to serve all people of South Africa. I therefore invite you to support a leadership that has earned your trust. We have proven what can be done when honest, accountable, transparent, and trustworthy leaders serve South Africa. We have proven that. As Bonoma Figizol, the IFP deserves your support. We have the right people for the job. Why then have we taken a knock at the polls? Why has the IFP's electoral support declined? There is one very simple reason for that. The saying goes that desperate times call for desperate measures. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Undoubtedly, our country faces desperate times. Through years of weak leadership, the ruling party at national level has plunged South Africa into a crisis. Our economy has become stagnant. Jobs are being lost. Poverty is spreading. And the more South Africa declines, the bolder the promises become. Government promises to create, the president himself in front of us in Parliament, promised to create 500,000 jobs. Instead, 1 million jobs were lost. The pattern is not new. From the very beginning, the ANC promised things it could never deliver and charted slogans it had no plan to fulfill. A better life for all. Sound like good music in the ears, but means nothing. The promise of free education has still not materialized. The promise of houses for all has not been met. But the difference between now and 10 years ago is that people are no longer willing to wait. They have lost faith that the ANC will deliver because trust has been irrevocably broken. The Fees Must Fall campaign sent a message that government could not ignore. It was not just a message about free education. It was a message that we have had enough. Enough is enough. We won't wait anymore or listen to any more excuses. Either you deliver or you're out. That is the simple message of democracy. The power to hire and fire government is in the hands of the people, who are not held to ransom by political leaders, who in fact hold the reins as voters. Tragically, however, in the midst of the crisis, people have become so desperate that their vote can be bought or swayed. Here in KwaZulu-Natal, the IFP earned your trust by running a clean and efficient administration. We understand that deep-seated poverty could not be turned around overnight. We are realists. But we are making a steady progress and setting in place the framework of our accelerated economic growth. You know, when I was in the cabinet, we were aiming for 5% economic growth. Every year, it went down, to the extent that now economic growth is less than 1%, which means that we're in a very difficult situation. And I'm not in the game of deceiving you. We're going through a very difficult time, and still going to be very difficult. As you know, the price of food has gone up, but that is nothing, it's still going to be worse. And actually, without economic growth, there can be no jobs. Economic growth is the only thing that creates jobs. First of all, when I grew up in the ANC, we all believed in nationalization. We believe in nationalization, we believe in socialism, all of us. Even Madiba abandoned it in 1994. We all believed in it. I actually went to see President Nyerere because he was the guru of African socialism called Ujamaa. And we sat for a couple of hours with him. And that child of God was honest. He told me that he had second thoughts. And when he visited this country, when he visited South Africa, on a state visit, he asked to call on me in my office as Minister of Home Affairs, just to renew our friendship. And he told me a story that in 1980, when His Excellency President Mugabe became the Prime Minister, as he was, of Zimbabwe, he said to Prime Minister Mugabe, look, the economy of Zimbabwe, as you know, was only second to our economy in South Africa. It was the second best. President Nyerere told me that he told Mr. Mugabe that you've inherited a jewel in reference to the economy of Zimbabwe. And he said, please don't destroy it. Don't behave like me. You know, don't do what I did in Tanzania. Well, the rest is history. So when people talk about socialism now, socialism which ruined Russia and all the Eastern Bloc of countries, socialism which has not worked even in places like Cuba, where we've had to pay more than 2 billion, we had to ask Cuba not to pay 2 billion they owe us. All the other are places where communism is supposed to be the answer. Socialism is not the answer. It will never be the answer. Well, the ANC has never given up on wiping out the IFP. Election after election, whether municipal, whether national, whether provincial, they came with a cavalcade of branded cars and expensive motorbikes. National leaders arrived in helicopters with great pomp and ceremony, while rock stars played and food flowed. Their message was money. Quote, look at what we have, they said. Don't you want to be like us? They preyed on desperate people, buying votes with food parcels and promises. They employed members of SADC at the voting stations. As you know, SADC is affiliated to COSATU and is part of the ANC, COSATU and SACP alliance. Those are the people that they put to be in charge of stations. All the leaders in opposition in parliament have written a letter to the IEC complaining about that. Well, the IEC said, well, in fact, they are not more than just 16%, but we don't even want them 16%. Because we had a very clear case in Nongoma. In Nongoma, in Ward 11, there were 3 councillors that were bribed and joined the ANC the same day. And by-elections were held, and we lost all of them. They had been ours. But in one ward, in Ward 11, Mr. Ndwandwe, who was our agent, party agent, saw that the person in charge of the station, voting station, did not count the special votes of old people and sick people. So the ward was then given to the NFP. So Mr. Ndwandwe approached our national chairman, the Honorable Mr. Kwala, who then took up the matter with our lawyer. We took it to the IEC. The IEC said that, in fact, they realized that something is wrong, but they didn't make a decision. They referred the matter to the electoral court, and the electoral court then ruled that those votes must be counted. And when they were counted, in fact, the vote had been won by us. And the person who was in charge was a member of SADC. Indeed, they use state resources that are paid with their tax money, with their own money, to give you gifts, so-called. But the gifts they give you were owed to you, and you paid for them yourselves. Those blankets, mini meals, and those pots should have come with no strings attached, because they are bought with taxpayers' money. But it was understood that your vote was being bought. Even the treasury of this country has made a statement complaining about the buying of votes with food parcels. It sickens me to the pit of my stomach to think of our parents and grandparents being manipulated out of their right to free and fair elections. After all we gave to secure the vote, it is despicable that some consider it a commodity. I'm pained by the thought of our youth, many voting for the first time, being tricked into believing that power and wealth can be bought. President Zuma once said that if you vote for the ANC, we are securing your place in heaven. Of course, that is absolutely untrue. I'm sure the Reverend Donda will agree with me that that is not true. Let me tell you what the chief economist of the Standard Bank says about the ANC, and I quote merely, it's not my statement. Quote, President Zuma is a compromised man, presiding over a compromised executive, delivering compromised programs, unquote. There is a wave of righteous anger sweeping the whole of South Africa. But beware their leaders, of course, who are capitalizing on this to promote their own interests. That is why the Honorable Mr. Maimane, the leader of the DA, was heard shouting in Johannesburg, saying, Zuma must put sack. That's the kind of language they use. And we see Mr. Malema shouting in Parliament that Zuma is a liar and a thief. Well, that's not the kind of language that the IFP will ever use. We see violent protests on university campuses driven by the EFF, and we see the DA becoming more and more aggressive so as to not to be outdone by the EFF. These two parties are driving each other to extremes as they race to be the loudest and grab the biggest headlines. It is a scramble of what is called sound bites. The ANC has responded by trying to shut down the visibility of protests. In violation of the right to freedom of expression and in violation of the press code, the SABC has announced a decision not to show violent protests on television. They are determined not to give any bad publicity to the ANC in the run to elections. So the protests get louder and the clampdown gets stronger. Where will this end? It can have no good outcome for us, for our country. In the midst of all these, comrades, the IFP stands like a lighthouse in all this gloom and doom, pointing the way to safer waters. There is an alternative to this standoff. We need not take South Africa down the path of self-destruction. There is still a party that believes in integrity and service first, a party that puts people before politics. There is still a voice of reason that restores calm and finds an answer. There are still people who build rather than destroy. This is the IFP. We are constructive rather than critical. We offer solutions instead of accusations. And the IFP is rising. We have seen, as mentioned by the Honorable Mkhuleko Shengwa, what happened since 2011. That whereas there had been little movement in most parties, that the ANC was gaining ground. In one by-election, after the next, voters returned the IFP to power. They have taken their vote back, and the party they trust and given a mandate to restore good governance is the IFP. Based on the pattern of votes since 2011 and the sentiments of voters, analysts have predicted a strong showing for the IFP in 2016. Well, I must say that I've never placed much store in predictions, for there are often hidden factors that influence what actually happens. I know that the ruling party is panicking, and an animal in panic is very dangerous. That's why we say in Sotho, ha ishwa iyaraha, ma ifi yakhaba. I also know that the opposition in KwaZulu-Natal has much at stake, for it has wagered its future on winning this province. But this is no two-horse race. The IFP is in it with a strong hope of success. The IFP has experience in governing well. We know how to govern and we are willing to do it. I therefore invite you to vote for a future that you can look forward to. A future your children can look forward to inheriting. And a future that will benefit South Africa. Therefore, vote for a leadership you can trust. On the 3rd of August, let your vote send a powerful message to those who are failing failing to see that the road stops here. Those who are failing that the road stops here. Let us speak with one voice, comrades, and declare an alternative future for South Africa. One in which everyone has a home and everyone is respected. A future of stability, growth, prosperity, peace. Trust us to lead that way to that future. Your answer is the IFP. Trust and vote IFP. Let me say before I finish speaking, today the IFP is entering a contract of good governance with you. Just as our councillors, candidates take a pledge, I too, as the leader of the IFP, and on behalf of the IFP, will take that pledge. Comrades, I invite you now to listen carefully to the following pledge, and providing you with the reasons why you should trust us. Comrades, trust us to hold councillors accountable for their actions. We will insist on the highest standards of good governance, of ethical behavior, and of responsiveness to the community. We will strictly enforce this and will fire those who fail to comply. Trust us to ensure that your IFP councillor will be a person of integrity. Trust us that your IFP councillor will be open and fair at all times. Trust us to ensure that your IFP councillor will include you in decision making. Trust us to ensure that your IFP councillor will be accountable. Trust us to ensure that your IFP councillor will be available at all times. Trust us to ensure that your IFP councillor will treat you with dignity and respect. Trust us to ensure that your IFP councillor will regularly consult with you and report back for feedback. Trust us to ensure that your IFP councillor will work for and with you. Trust us to ensure that our councillors serve everyone in the community. Trust us to make sure that IFP councillors act professionally at all times and serve with dedication. I, Mangosuthu Buthelezi, your president, take this pledge in front of you, myself. Bakwethu, ngiyaxolisa uma senikhathele uzwizi lwami. Kodwa akukho okhombisa ukuthi senikhathele. Ngishilo ngesikhathi ngisukuma ukuthi ngokuvamileyo umholi noma umuphi umbusazwe ukhulume aqale ngokuhlonipha izikhulu ngokwezifunda zazo. Namhlanje mangibheka le nkundla yezolithini stadium, ngiyazi ukuthi abantu abamqoka kunabo bonke yilabo nina enize ukuzozwa na-IFP. Yini nonke enisizathu soba khona kwethu lapha. Yini ningabantu esibasebenzelayo. Ngakho-ke ngiyakhuleka kuba umfundisi uDonda osivuleleyo nakubantwana basendunkulu namakhosi asendunkulu no-Deputy President Inkosi Sembongweni nosihlalo wethu kazwelonke umnumzane uGwala nesekela sihlalo uzolonke umnumzane uMncango nosihlalo umbutho wabesifazane unkosikazi Madlovu Mthethwa nosihlalo kazwelonke wentsha umhlonishwa Mkhuleko Hlengwa ngikhuleka kubahlonishwa imeya zethu ezikhona abahlonishwa basePhalamende amalungu eshamthetho zezifundazwe izikhulu zethu induna zamakhosi amakhansela ethu ama-candidates ethu ama-volunteer ethu ukuthokoza kwami kukubo kodwa ukugxile kakhulu kini nina abacomrade ngamunye enenza isinqumo sokuza lapha ukuzolalela i-IFP nenza isinqumo esiphusileyo ngiqonde ukunikeza okuningi enizocabanga ngakho nezizathu eziningi zokubeka ukwesekwa kwenu ngemva kwe-IFP. Iningi lenu ngiyazi ngabantu asebenza isikhathi eside be-IFP neminyaka eminingi ninamathikithi obulungu abathile banawo kusukela ngo-1975. Ngiyanhlonipha ngokuyinikela kwenu ngazi ukuthi sihambe uhambo olumangaliso ndawonye nani oluyihambo olufake izwe lakithi umoya wenkululeko. Abanye abakule nkundla abangamalungu abuyele ku-IFP ngemva kokuba sebeyizwile amanzi ngobhoko kwamanye amaqembu bafumana ukuthi ayikho impela indawo efana nasekhaya IFP. Siyanemukela ekhaya bocomrade. Sithokoza kakhulu ngokubuyela kwenu ku-IFP. Ihlala ikhona indawo yenu emndenini wenu we-IFP. Siyakwazisa ukuba khona kwenu ey'khundleni ey'shayo zenu ku-IFP. Siyabonga amavoti ethu ahambe ngephutha enibuya nawo. Kulabo abasanda kuqala ukubambisana ne-IFP sithi namukelekile. Siyathokoza kini ngokubeka kwenu ithemba lenu eqenjini elikusebenzelayo ukuhlonishwa yini. Njengoba siqhubekela phambili sisonke siyimisele ngokugcina ukusethemba kwenu. Siyanimema ukuba wenze wakho umnikelo kulokho ukubambisana ngokuba i-IFP yilelo nalelo zwi libalulekile kithi. Njengoba ngimile phakathi kwenu ma-comrades abantu abaningi kangaka abathanda izwe nesizwe sakubo nabahlobo ngizwa ukubuka ithemba Mangibheka nje ngikubuka ithemba enhliziyweni yami. Ngiyakwazi mina ukungafezwa. Nabantu abanomqondo ofanayo behlangana kanje njengoba nenzile namhlanje ngenxa yokufuna isizwe sakubo nemndeni yabo nemphakathi yabo ukusizakala okuhle kunakho konke. Sengibe nethuba lokuba umholi we-IFP iminyaka ye-41 ngabona iy'wombe zokunqoba kuphinda kwabantu naphezu kwey'nkinga ey'bekhona. Ngibone imiphakathi ecindezeleyo ngobuphofu nobubha ivuka ikwazi ukulelelisa iy'dingo zayo ngobala. Ngibone intsha enethemba ngekusasa iy'dalela ikusasa ngemfundo nolwazi. Ngibone imindeni eney'nhloko zemndeni okuzingane laba abazala abafe khona abanye babulawe isifo sobhubhane lwengculazi. Ney'ngane ey'khuliswa ngogogo ngabona lezi ngane zinempilo ezondlekile khona kogogo igcwele namathemba phezu kosizo olungaka. Ngibona amabhizinisi ekhula esukele emalini encane yembewu kunayo yonke. Ngibona izindlu zakhiwa ngokubambisana phakathi kwabantu nohulumeni. Nemtholampilo yakhiwa lapho abantu babengenayo khona intulo yokufinyelela ekunakalelweni kwempilo. Ngivule inkulungwane empilweni yami zey'kole. Ngakho amakholishi nohulumeni wakwaZulu saka amakholishi ngondunankulu bethu bokuqala Dr. Mdlalose, Dr. Ngubane, Dr. Mtshali. Ngacela ubuyingane ifunde. Ziphinde ifunde zibuye zifunde. Ngibona abesifazane abacelwe phansi bekuhlukunyezwa bephinde bevuka. Lezi zinto zinokwenzeka bo-comrade. Kodwa ayithuki zenzeka ngengozi. Futhi kasizenzekele ohlelweni lwentando yeningi. Kuyangidabukisa ukwazi ukuthi abantu abaningi baseNingizimu Afrika sebelahlekelwe yithemba entandweni yeningi. Lokho kungadalwa yikho ukuthi yona intando yeningi uqobo lwayo iyuhlelo onezici. Kodwa ngenxa yendlela efezwa ngayo lapha eSouth Africa. Kuhle kulungile ukuba isakhiwo sezwe i-constitution inikeza amalungelo esintu kuba bonke abantu bakithi nokubanikeza izwi uhulumeni. Kodwa nxa kusekhona abantu abasalindele izindlu ezihloniphekileyo ngemva kweminyaka ama-22 singena entandweni yeningi nemkhukhu isengaka. Nalapho amavoti esathengwa khona ngey'jumba nazokudla. Ngakumangazi ukuthi abantu bacabanga ukuthi intando yeningi kanti into engasebenzi. Kuyisho ukuthi ngisho noma umnyango wokuhlaliswa kwabantu uzama ukwenza lokhu ukwenza ukwakhela abantu izindlu ukuhlinzeka abantu, kodwa iningi lazo lezo zindlu zingamaqhokobhana ngoba amathenda anikwa obhululu ney'hlobo abangazilutho ngokwakho.
Oh, well, you heard it. Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the IFP president, outlining the IFP manifesto for 2016. And amongst the things that will happen is that all the 3,000 candidates will sign an integrity pledge. And the IFP is also promising a couple of things like good governance, a rule of law, construction of roads, and many others. With that, the IFP now is going to take this manifesto and sell it to the voters until the 3rd of August. With that, we're wrapping up here at King Goodwill Zwelithini Stadium in Umlazi, south of Durban.